G'day mates, it's the Doctor here, and with the release of more Ghoti cards, I would like to discuss the original Ghoti archetype, and that being Generation Fish. Now, this is an archetype that debuted in 2011 in Generation Force when the Xyz era started, and while not a named archetype, it does have its own theme, gimmick, and art design. And, well, unless you're Volcanics, any deck can get support, and Generation Fish is a deck that never took off, but it makes it disappointing when the the character Shark used a lot of these cards in the anime, but not the specific ones like Air Orca and some of the others. But we're going to go through each of these individual cards and some of the support that could be included in it, and yeah, I really want to talk about this deck. So, here we have Air Orca first up, and the gimmick to these cards is they banish themselves and then return to the your next standby phase. So, Air Orca can pop a card as long as you banish a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster from your hand, and then it returns. So it's sort of like a weird way of protecting itself in a way, but of course, you're going to need ways of defending yourself. And next up, we have Sky Star Ray, which attacks directly, and then, much like Air Orca, banishes itself. And then, I'll get to these two in a moment, but Fly Fang is similar, that does piercing damage, and then when it does damage, it banishes itself and returns to the field on your next standby phase. And Big Jaws has pretty good attacks for a level 3 monster, but it permanently banishes itself, which is kind of a problem, but that's where Winged Tortoise comes in. When a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster is banished, you can special summon this card from the hand or graveyard, which is very useful for defense and special summoning monsters to set up for an Xyz summon, because this was back when Yu-Gi-Oh was a lot slower. And let's get to some of the other ways of special summoning. Shark stickers. When a fish, sea serpent, or aqua monster is normal or special summon, you can special summon this card from the hand. It cannot be used as synchro material. That was a common text clause, I believe is the term, a clause. That monsters cannot be used for synchro summon because they were trying to move away from synchro summoning into Xyz summoning. And with Tribe Infecting Virus finally off a ban list, this could also be a very handy card. And you could discard any card to declare a type of monster and destroy all face-up monsters of that type, as long as it's not Aqua, because it will destroy itself. And we have Spearfish Soldier, a level 4 monster that gains 100 attack points for each of your fish, or each of your banished fish, sea serpent, and aqua monsters. That's basically a bad version of Grand Maju, but it's just sad because you see like the potential. You see the potential with cards like these, and I really thought that Konami would dive deeper into this. No pun intended. Next is Sea Lancer. This card did see some play in the Frog engine, because it can equip banished frog monsters to this card. And I suppose frogs could have been some support for this, even though they're level 2. But, yeah, this is an archetype that relies on banishing cards, and then with Sea Lancer you can equip it and gains 1000 attack. Now we have the spell and trap cards, Fish and Swaps. Discard a card to target 2 of your banished fish, seas, or aqua monsters. I don't know why they were one type, but yeah, target 2, add it to your hand. That's basically salvage. Then we have Fish and Kicks with a 7-colored fish again. I kind of like that. But Fish and Kicks, if you have 3 or more banished fish, Caesar, but aqua monsters, target a card on the field and banish it. And as we're seeing a lot of cards these days, there's even that Derma Cannon card. I'll put it up on screen. That card has like a new trap card of it. It's very weird, and I don't know which monster this is meant to be, but Monster Slots lets you banish a monster from your graveyard and draw a card, reveal it, and if it's a monster of the same level, you can special summon it. Now we have Zero Force. I love this trap card. This trap card was featured in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds and debuted in Storm of Ragnarok. And when a face-up monster you control is removed from play, the attack points of all face-up monsters on the field become 0, which is perfect. So along with Winged Tortoise, and whenever you banish one of your monsters, this trap card can reduce all your opponent's monsters' attack to 0, and that's permanent. Now we have Underworld Egg Clutch, which is basically a really bad rotor because it's a trap card and you have to wait until your next turn to use it. Why not just use it instantly when you draw it? When a face-up fish sees up an aqua monster you control is banished, add 1 level 4 or lower fish sees up an aqua monster from deck to your hand. Good, but very slow. This is a card that came out around that time and was recently printed in the Legendary Duelist 8-pack with all the Speedroids and Chevalier de Fleur card. And Totem Bird, when a spell or trap card is activated, you can detach 2 materials on this card to negate and destroy it, and then loses 300 attack for if it has no materials, but whatever. That not a lot of Xyz monsters could pop spells and traps, or do anything about back row. I guess at most wind up Zen mains, but it would be a while until we would get cards like Tornado Dragon, or Full Armored Black Ray Lancer, or any Xyz monster that could pop back row cards. I was really waiting for a number card that could do that. And I guess wind up Zen mains could have done it, but yeah, that card requires to be attacked. Then we have Levier the Sea Dragon, which is a way of special summoning your banished monsters, and this card was definitely popular at the time. I remember it was $30 when it came out. That's pretty good for an Ultra. Now we have number 17 Leviathan Dragon. I'm really upset over this card because this should have been the rival card, and being one of the first Xyz monsters, you thought they would... You would think they would do more with this card, like a Chaos Number, or... I don't know, but for some reason the character Shark had this, Shark Drake, Silent Honor Arc, and Abyss Splash. Like, which one's his signature card? I don't know. I really thought it would be Leviathan Dragon, but I don't know, this card was just forgotten about, and I'm very disappointed over it, because it seems like an iconic card for the Xyz era, and not a bad way to start the generation off. So, I mean, it's not too late. We could see, I mean, we're getting a new Chaos Number in the next main booster pack set, Photon Hypernova. And, oh yeah, we never got a fish-type number monster, and that's even more disappointing, because I always wanted a fish-type number monster to go along with this deck, except we never got a fish-type number monster, despite the character Shark, despite him playing fish monsters. I feel cheated. And with a fish Xyz, we have Submersible Carrier Arrow Shark. Apparently Konami thought this card was too powerful to come into the real world, so they were still in that mentality state where cards from the anime had to be downgraded in the real world. And, well, just read this effect. Once per turn, you can detach an Xyz material from this card and inflict 100 damage to your opponent for each of your banished monsters. Apparently, whoever designed this must have thought that players start with 4,000 life points. No, we start with 8,000. Why couldn't this be the same as the anime, as 400? Like, if 100 damage, really? But because it has Xyz materials, that means the effect is limited. It can only use it twice. Insane! And hilariously, it wouldn't be until Eternity Code we would get the spell card Torpedo Takedown that's basically the same as Submersible Carrier Arrow Shark. And by the way, on that note of anime cards getting reduced, like this one, Bubble Man, and I'm sure there's plenty of others, what we're seeing with cards like, or sets like Animation Chronicle and the Cyber Angel cards is they get additional effects that make them more powerful than they were in the anime. So, I don't know, a retrained version of Submersible Carrier Arrow Shark? Oh boy. But with Torpedo Takedown, you can target a water Xyz monster you control, detach an Xyz material, inflict 400 damage to your opponent for each card in their hand. Like 400 for each card that's banished. You could have gone with the burning effect. There was even a trap card, Poseidon Wave, that inflict 800 damage for each of your each fish season aqua monster you control. And this spell card also has a draw effect. If you banish this and a water Xyz, draw 2. There was also Torrential Reborn that revives all your destroyed fish, sea serpent, aqua monsters, or maybe just water, to then inflict 500 damage for each one to your opponent. But now we're going to take a look at some of these cards, and sorry, let me just straighten this up. Please focus camera. So with these cards, Numen the Tetsudo Eret Newman and Newman Eret Tetsudo. These are very weird cards, but they do very similar things that your opponent cannot special summon monsters with 1800 or more attack, and your opponent cannot special summon monsters with 1800 or less attack. That could be a great way of restricting your opponents. It's like a floodgate, similar to having Dimensional Fissure or Macrocosmos. And being a very level 3 reliant deck, you gotta have rank 3 monsters like number 71, Rebarian Shark. That wouldn't come out till later. Same with Triad Levia. It's also good. Also banishes your opponent's monsters. And then there's Acid Golem, where just give it to your opponent with creature swap, and they would have a hard time contending with the board. And there's number 47, Nightmare Shark, which is very popular in Duel Links. We have Different Dimension Reincarnation to bring back bring back banished monsters, and Abyss Keeper, which is the first fish-type link monster. I was pretty happy to see it. I guess it's alright if you can find a good use for it. You can special summon a fish monster, specifically fish, not fish, sea, serpent, or aqua, and target another fish monster you control, like the one you can summon from the hand, and the card your opponent controls, banish it. So, back row monsters, yeah. And then we have Hammer Shark. I really like that card, because this card can reduce its level to make it level 3, and special summon a fish, sea, serpent, or water monster. So, as you can see, the synergy is a bit confusing with the waters and the winds, and maybe that's why it fell out of place. It was just awkward with the different typings and specific typings. Sometimes it's fish, sea, serpent, aqua, or sometimes it's just fish. And then you have Beautiful Princess, which should have had a reprint in something recently, like Ghost from the Past, because this is a $10 rare at the time of recording. It might even be more than that. Thriller Raptor is another card that Shark played. It's like Necro Gardener, but it targets a monster. I don't know why it targets. And the targeted monster loses 500 attack until the next turn. And that was useful when I combined this with Ragnar Zero, number 104 Ragnar Zero, which destroys the monster with attack points that are different from its original, and you draw a card. And part of the reason I really wanted a fish-type number monster was for consistency and synergy with a fish depth charge. Tribute a fish monster to destroy a card, then draw a card. That was a lot of fun to use back in the day, and, well, it was just difficult without a good fish Xyz monster. Now we have Oystermeister or Oystermeister. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, except when it's destroyed in battle, special summon an Oyster token, so link summoning, and, well, it says field to graveyard, so it can't be used for Xyz as an Xyz material. But it's a token generator, and that could be very useful if you link summon this card with Abyss Keeper. I don't know if you can banish tokens though. That might be something. Might have to check with rulings on that. And then we got some more cards that can go well with the Fish, Sea Serpent, Aqua monsters, the trilogy of, or trinity of the ocean typings. Surface is basically monstery. Oh, I did say it right. I was thinking surface salvage. Blah, blah, blah. So this card is basically Monster Reborn. Target a level 3 or lower fish, sea, or aqua monster. Special summon from the grave in defense mode. Aquajet gives the monster 1,000 more attack, and it's permanent. It's not an equip spell, so that makes it useful. And then maybe this is why, if this card came out back in the day, it would be so useful. There can only be one. Each player can only control one type of monster. So fish, sea, serpent, aqua. Easy. One type of each monster. That's how it works. Now we have Spine Gilman that gives Fish, Sea Serpent, Aqua monsters 400 attack, including itself, and you can control more than one of this card, which is very good. It's not like Flame Administrator. And then you have Lost Blue Breaker. This card was a secret rare, if you can believe that, and you need to control another Fish, Sea Serpent, Aqua monster to tribute this card and target a spell or trap and destroy it. That was useful with Deep Sea Diva, because Deep Sea Diva can search this card, And, well, you got a Sea Serpent on the field, so you have you've met the requirements to activate this monster effect. Yeah, it's still secret rare. And now we have another card that Shark played, Needle Sunfish. If this card is sent to the graveyard, not the field necessarily, but as an Xyz material, you can target a monster on the field, lose 500 attack. Nibble Sunfish was also useful to special summon another Sunfish from the deck and also mill your deck, and that is how you can get Thriller Rabcar into the graveyard to activate its effect. And a newer card, Ice Mirror, target one level 3 or level water monster in you control, special summon a monster of the same name from your deck. And, well, I'm really glad to pick up this card. As you can see, it's a very, very older card. Super Ancient Deep Sea King Colacanth. There was sort of a weird fish deck around at the time where you can special summon as many from your deck thanks to this card. And who knows, maybe it could be useful with the Ghoti cards, because all the Ghotis are fish, so that makes synergy better and you don't have to worry about specific typings and attributes. And speaking of DC Diva, it has its own archetype with all these deep sea cards. Before we continue, I would just like to mention the reason why I like water monsters so much is because the support is generally generic. It's just when they require one of the 3 specific typings, fish, sea serpent, or aqua, rather than and aqua, that's when it can be awkward. And it's not always the case, and that can cut off some pretty neat combos. But continuing on, we have Rock Scales on top, which is such a random support that came out in, I forget the set, BACH. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments, but Rock Scales is a nice effect when it's special summon, target one face-up monster on the field and equip it to this card, so it can steal your opponent's monsters. But, yeah, how do you special summon a level 5 fish monster? That's something that could be missing from the Generation Fish archetype. Lifeless Leaf Fish is another way of milling Thriller Rabcar if you want, to set up your graveyard for cards like Aqua Spirit, or if you want to have a way of milling your wind monsters for Garuda the Wind Spirit. And there's Sylphie that's random. It's just the same as Garuda to special summon this card by banishing a wind monster. And if you want to be daring, you can crash this monster into an opponent's card and make this card a card. I think it deserves a reprint. But you have ways of special summoning monsters from the hand and more ways of banishing your own cards. And yeah, they are level 4, but you can go for rank 4 plays or, you know, link summons. And Aqua Spirit is arguably the best of them because with this monster, it can target them. Actually, I don't think it targets. No, it actually doesn't target, but you can change the battle position of one of your opponent's face-up monsters, and it cannot change battle position, so it can't attack, basically. Yeah, I just realized that. Aqua Spirit does not target. But Lifeless Leaf Fish is, you can manage this card and target 3 fish monsters in your graveyard, shuffle those into the deck. I know this is not the best way of holding the folder, but maybe you should have been holding on to these cards like a deck. But yeah, I just want to show all the different support cards at once, the ways you can combo off, and if there's any potential, any way of combining these cards together, because as we can see with cards like Smoke Grenade of a Thief, or I'm sure there's something. Yes, Necomane King, cannot forget that, because that's going to be broken in Dark Worlds. So any card has the potential of setting up combos to benefit the new cards. And that's how crazy Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. Any card can age well, you never know. But one card that may not age well is Supreme Sea Mare. When it's normal summoned or special summoned, you can send an Aqua monster from deck to graveyard. I don't think that's part of a cost, so you cannot activate Atlantean effects. That's a shame. And then during the end phase, you contribute this card to target an aqua monster in your graveyard, add it to hand. Why not just activate Salvage or Surface? And with Flying Red Carp, you can discard a water monster, specifically water monster, and then if it destroys a monster in battle, tribute this card, special summon fish, see to aqua monster. Maybe that would have been alright back in the day, but it doesn't help that it's level 4. Then you have a baby version of Ravenous Crocodile, and target a fish, see to aqua monster in your graveyard. With a level equal or lower to the number of cards in your opponent's hand, special summon it. And yeah, Crocodile is a pretty good card. This card can activate Atlantean effects, but we're specifically talking about Generation Fish of the banishing part. And yeah, maybe it's time that I went over how the deck could improve, because yes, as we went over, there's a lot of problems with Generation Fish, and we need more ways of special summoning, perhaps an additional normal summon, so maybe additional normal summon could help bypass Potter Duality, a way of getting more monsters on the field without worrying about special summoning, but of course you cannot exceed summon, but we also need ways of disrupting the opponent, more ways of setting up defense. Gravity Bind was actually a good card back in the day, because again, this was when Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a lot slower, and there's a lot of Floodgate cards. Trifecta Virus could be useful. They need an upgraded version of Spearfish Soldier, something that increases attack, and other animals that they could base their monsters around, because I really like these flying fish, marine life creatures. Air Orca is one of my favorite artworks, period. It's just wicked looking. It's got like flames on this black and red and white underbelly monster with a very fearsome face. So maybe we could have reverse Air Orca, like one that can destroy face down cards, similar to Atlantean Marksman. I forget which one, Marksman or Infantry. I think it's Infantry that targets face-up monsters, then Marksman takes down face-down cards, and we could do something like that with Air Orca. So, yeah, the meme will continue to live on that Volcanics will never get any support. I don't know why that is. It's like, is this some kind of Air Neo situation where there's a copyright thing on Volcanics and that's why they can't do Volcanics? Have Volcanics been printed recently? Have they had any reprints in recent years? I don't know. Anyway, let me know what ways we could improve on Generation Fish, and who knows if Konami would want to explore this archetype more, and some of the ideas I had floating around, like Altitude Eel, or Ozone Dolphin, or Storm Starfish, or they definitely need a good Rota card. Something like Ice Barriers, that you can add any Ice Barrier card from deck to your hand. I think it's called Medallion, and you know an archetype is good when you have a Rota that's at 3. Yeah, upgraded Submersible Carrier Aeroshark, upgraded Leviathan Dragon, upgraded Leviair, dare I say? Anyway, that's gonna be it for now. I hope we can find a way of making Generation Fish better, and if you have any ideas, like your own custom-made cards, leave them in the comments. I would like to know what you guys can come up with to make Generation Fish an even better deck, and maybe synergize with some of the cards that I have shown you today, whether it's a control-based deck, or a burn-based deck, or something, because I just feel bad for this deck. Both the way it was... Was it even featured in the anime? I don't know if we can say that. But that's the video. I hope you learned something, and maybe we can work something out together. Please, Konami. Anyway, until next time, take care, mates.